Hi, and welcome to another episode of Kuntarkis. My name is Michael Yon, and this is the second Kuntarkis In Car episode. So, without further ado, here's Kuntarkis. Do you know if Tesla? I've been saying that this is the case, but I need to confirm. As far as making a place, did Tesla actually make a spot on a hill where he was able to conduct as much lightning as he wanted? Or is that in my head? I've got that wrong. Or he knew that he could. I think he believed at least that it was possible. There was a spot in the world or whatever. He knew it was possible to be on a particular hill and manifest as much lightning as he wanted.
Okay.
Doesn't ring a bell.
No, it doesn't ring a bell, mate. Let me look at that, and I'll come back to you. But I know what he did do. He created a machine that he created static electricity that would go all through his body and all around him. It was just quite incredible. And he was trying to create a machine that gives off static electricity that could be used for household use. But instead, he created another system which was like a box. And you hook it up to something and it literally gives you all the power you need to run an entire house.
From static electricity?
From that electricity, yeah.
In the air, like similar to living
Yes,
energy?
yes.
Wow.
And that's why they stopped him. They laughed at him. They wouldn't listen to what he had to say. And that's why the big companies wanted him dead. Because if he brought something like that out back then even, they wouldn't be able to get their electricity
No.
creations off the ground.
Just to clarify what you just said, he actually created a system of free energy.
Yes, totally
Wow.
free.
Through static
And
energy.
yeah, and in I can't remember the exact date just offhand, but the day he died, the next day when his body was removed, the FBI came into the apartment in New York City and took everything. They took his inventions. They found out where his workshop was. They took all his minor inventions and all his paperwork back into a certain area, and then they started eventually using it. There's a lot of things they haven't even used yet, but they never found his secret underground bunker. They never found that.
No, and what was it? What one of the things that was in there was a time machine?
All that was there was a time machine, mate. That was where he would just do his time machine and nothing else.
So I've got a question with the time machine. If you go back in time with it, the Earth has rotated into a different place within space. That wouldn't matter. It would. How would it pinpoint where to land in space and time?
Okay. When you say that again, Michael, I just want to make sure I clarify.
You might have answered by saying that it would simply land in the same spot, as in the same bunker, say 100 years before. But I wonder how his technology would know to land in that exact spot. And like some people say, if you were to just go in a time machine, the Earth would be in a different position around the sun, so it might be harder to land physically in the exact same location.
Okay. In my book, Volume 1, right? The Dream Assassin. You know about that one.
Yeah.
And you know how Tesla was brought back and given life eventually and all that type of stuff with his time machine and all that, and how mystical man, he turned around and, how would you say, created a better one, more solid, indestructible, and it had even a remote control that poor old Tesla couldn't work out. He could not get the remote control to function perfectly. There was something he wasn't doing. Okay, in the book, Mystical Man creates a new remote control system for it, puts in an entire new paneling system. Even in Volume 2, he talks about that in the end when he comes to the wedding, and how Mystical Man created a center, how would you say, a center dome, not a dome, sorry, a center circle where a panel would open up with his hand touching it, and all the controls were there with the remote control. That's how Mystical Man created it, right? Now, here is something that you don't know, and this you might find interesting, this you might not. I wrote into the book that I went back and I helped him rebuild his machine, and he had to go into the double. The double went there, and he had to walk into the double to become one energy, which he did, let's say, in the book. Okay? Now, the thing was, the person who actually went back just before he died, probably maybe a month, maybe 2 months, because he was getting worse and worse. Now, Yakis Kartas knows Nikola Tesla very well as an Akaron who has had many lives on Nakaras. Yakis Kartas heard his call because he was connected to his vibration. And Yakis Kartas came in his time in the 30s, and he literally dissolved the actual entire time tunnel on the request of Nikola Tesla. So the machine was gone when eventually the FBI found the bunker through Lee, paper Lee, that he was actually renting it, but he ended up buying it because it was nearly worthless to anyone. But they found it, and when they smashed the door down, there was nothing there whatsoever except an empty bunker. And what was in the center of the room was a big red question mark on the actual concrete that Yakis Kartas put there.
Wow, that is amazing.
But I changed, because I found out about that. I didn't tell anyone. I changed it and put it in as Mystical Man, as science fiction. You see what I did?
Yeah.
But actually, in one way, I was telling the truth.
Can you just? I got a little lost. Wow. The going back with the body double. Did you say before he actually? Is it in physical reality, or is it in the fiction story that months before he died, he was sent back to be with his physical body? Was that the fiction?
That was fiction, mate. Yeah.
Okay. And even though it was fiction, the idea was that instead of him living and dying a month later, he would actually join up with his physical self back in time.
Yes.
Mm.
Yes.
And that machine that he had made, which was practically working, where would it land when it went back in time?
It would have landed wherever it was destined to go through the computer channeling.
So would Tesla be able to literally put coordinates in, or did the computer just he'd put coordinates in?
Yes. So I created reality with fiction. I thought that would be a way of doing it, so people would look at it and say, is this possible? Well, it was, but there was also fiction in it at the same time. And in volume 3, the truth of that will come out. Where, what's his name, Mystical Man, having a big talk with all the team members, as well as the president and whoever else and all that, with Yakis Kartas. And Mystical Man looks at Yakis Kartas with a big smile, and he says, Father, don't you think it's about time we express the reality of what actually did happen, not what I wrote, or not what, say, Frank Hartley wrote in the book? He was writing all the books on the adventures of Mystical Man. So it all ties in. So it's all tied in, all of it.
Yeah, wow.
That's why Mystical Man was filming everything. All his adventures, everything that he did, he filmed. He kept giving it to Frank, and that's what I was writing. So the book actually becomes reality.
Wow.
Not many people do it the way I've done, mate. I can tell you.
Yeah, no, I might have to reread Volume One before Volume Two comes out for me, just to because that'll
Yes,
probably enhance my experience of Volume
I
Two.
think it will. Yes, I think it will.
Mm.
Yeah, very much so.
Wow, that's good.
But yeah, Volume Two, mate, is it's actually very different. Very different. It's got a lot more in it to what I normally would put.
Mm.
It's trying to get really, really open up.
Mm. Yeah, you don't do stuff. Oh, this is probably a bad quote, but you don't do stuff half-hearted, do you? Like you
No,
give your all, and you give a lot. Whether it's your books, your seminars, speaking to me, the
yes,
podcast, like you don't hold back.
no, I don't. No, no. Yeah, by the way, I'm going back um, with these two beings. By the way, in a couple of days. I had a message come to me the other day when I was laying down. They were looking at me as I was in that dream state, and they said to me, "Hello, Kuntarkis." And I looked at them. My eyes just opened up and looked at them, and they said, "We are coming back if you wish to come with us. We have some exciting things to show you." I said, "Yes, please." So not tonight, maybe not tomorrow night, which is what tomorrow night's Thursday or today's Thursday. No, tomorrow night's Thursday. Probably Friday night. More likely Friday night. Yeah.
Brilliant. You have to somehow figure out what we're going to call them, whether it's by their names or by their race.
Yes, that's very
Yeah,
true.
so we know.
I will ask those questions. I've already got those questions in mind. Because
Sure.
last time I didn't. Yeah, I didn't do that. I was just too overexcited about the whole thing.
I mean, how are you feeling? How are you feeling now, knowing that Friday night's going to be another trip?
Oh, I'm very, actually, I'm very excited, mate. Very
Yeah,
excited.
yeah.
Because something that's who I am as life. Discovering new reality. I get really bored, and I admit that. I never used to, but I get really bored with conversation when I'm out with people, and some of the things they talk about. Yeah, I respect them. I don't do anything. I answer them. I allow myself to be there, but it really bores me because I'm not into that conditioning anymore of life, the fear of life, or talking about other people and getting my opinion asked and things like that. Because a lot of the times I say, no, look, I'm really sorry. I really don't have an opinion
Yeah.
because I don't want to talk about other people like that. It's not what I do.
What's your mindset like? What's it experience when you're doing other things? Even like when you're, say, mowing the lawn or driving the car, like if you've got nothing else happening like the radio or whatever, what is going on through your head normally?
Um, Volume 3,
Yeah.
I'm, I'm already, like thinking in my mind, mystical man, what he's doing and all that. And I've already got, as you know, I think the first two or three, I think three little synopsises already, and I just sort of plan what I'm going to do in those synopsises as a storyline. So it gives me different ideas. And sometimes I see myself flying a lot. I do it to train myself.
Even as you're physically mowing the lawn, you'll see yourself flying.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll also see myself, eradicating a large group of really aggressive people who have hurt people. I see myself really, really taking them out really quick. I can see the actions and I can feel it in my body, and that's what's really interesting.
Wow. And you don't apparently you don't do this anymore, but you used to even let a spirit hop into your body to some degree. I'd like to know how much, and drive you home to Hahndorf from the city.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
You used to do that. Can you explain that?
I can. Yes. When it first started, it happened to me. Oh my God! Like oh, Jesus. What is it, 70, 50? Probably about 38 to 40 years ago. It was a first experience. And I was on the road called the Oxley Highway, which is between Bendemeer and Coffs Harbour, I believe. I think it's Coffs Harbour. And as I was driving, I was only just getting onto the Oxley Highway from Bendemeer in New South Wales. And as I was flying along doing 100, I suddenly felt my heart racing. And I could feel as if there was like a push from behind me. So I made sure I was driving at only 100, because you never know, New South Wales cops on the road or radar traps. And I'm going along, and suddenly I was flying down a hill, and I felt myself going beyond the steering wheel and straight out the window and straight up into the sky, and I was in space. And I said, can I breathe? Am I going to live or am I going to die? And a voice said to me, you don't need oxygen in space. But what about my car? It's going to crash. My body, it'll be dead. And this being said, no, it's not. I have someone looking after it. They're driving your car. They have all the information they need to keep safe. Just go with me. And I can see this light hand come out like it was dot. And it was a perfect hand, but in dot form. And it put its hand out towards me and says, take my hand. And I did. And I saw my hand wearing exactly the same clothes that I had on in the car. And when I took the hand, instantly I started to move and I was gone. There was nothing, absolutely nothing. Then I remember waking up and I'm still driving, but I traveled 39.7 kilometers.
Wow. That was wow. And that was the first experience. What was it like every other time?
Oh, absolutely mind-blowing, Michael. But I got to a point where I just accepted it, no matter what it was. I've had experiences where they've been negative. You would look at it as being negative and yet positive at the same time. So the outcome was positive. I've had situations where I was taken out of my body and put into a situation where I could physically die. Yet I didn't, because I believed in myself. I believed that I was this being that would not change from the light, that I would always be the light. I've had lots of those experiences. Oh, heaps, actually, heaps.
So would you ever, back then, because I think you said you don't do it anymore, would you at some point think, okay, well, I'm driving an hour trip home, I'm willingly leaving my body and allowing another spirit to come in? Do you ever do that these days?
No.
I'm sorry.
No,
no, my question wasn't. My question wasn't that actually. My question was, in the times that you were doing it, because you were doing it towards Harndorf, would it be a conscious thing, or the spirit would just kind of gracefully push you out, and you were going to have an experience, and your car would be driven?
No, it became a very conscious thing. I was always warned. I was given the, yes. Like when I say warned, I don't mean that in a negative way.
You were notified.
Say, you are coming with me, yes? And I would say, yes, please. Then one will take your car. Is that good? I said, yes, please. And I would go out of the body.
This concludes another episode of Kuntarkis. If you'd like to know more about Kuntarkis, go to his website, etcconsciousness.com, where you can find out about his books. You can find out about him as a consultant and the way that he can speak in seminars and such. Also, so there are some different stories there with some interesting pictures and such. If you'd like to also just be able to contact us directly, email kuntarkis@gmail.com, where you can ask about speaking to Kuntarkis privately, but also you can ask so that a question can come through to the podcast and we can direct Kuntarkis and his knowledge towards whatever your question is. Well, that's it for now. Thanks so much for listening. My name is Michael Yon, and stay tuned for more.